really useful showtime. I am with a fully paid up member of the human race, as Vanda was described. To reach out and connect with Vanda, vanda@mindchi.com.
Yes.
And you can get all these free resources to get you dipping your toe and your consciousness in 8 minutes of bliss, that there might be joy in your life. So we started talking about the first minute when we have square breathing, which is in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3, empty for 3.
Exactly.
Brilliant to use you, getting you re-centered, if that's the right word.
Yes.
Circling the square.
Yes. In control.
There is a phrase, isn't there? Square the circle, actually, it's the other way. Yes. And then how do we focus for the second part of start?
That's focusing on just thinking over and over again, one. And when another little thought just comes in, then going up a number. So we're not pushing out the thoughts, we're not swidging them we're just acknowledging them. And it is to give us the reflection of how is our brain at the moment. And I remember what it was I was going to say. Anyone who's listening, if you put one hand high on your chest and one on your six-pack, and
I've got a keg. Hand on my keg.
oh dear, you should see us now.
We're wobbling. We're wobbling with joy.
Oh yes, we've done the wibbles wobble. And
Goodness
so,
gracious me. Come on.
So, as I was trying to say, take
were.
a couple of normal breaths and see which hand moves more. And if we then just check that, if it's the upper hand, it is probably that you're doing rather shallow little breaths. If you think of a child who's got upset about something, they'll come running to you going, just teeny little breaths. And that isn't getting the oxygen that your body needs. And when people are stressed, what frequently happens is they just do these shallow little breaths, which is why we say things like, I've got to walk outside and catch my breath for a while, or I've got to stop, or why solutions to problems come after we've left the workplace or left the situation and we are maybe watering the roses in the evening. Suddenly we think, oh, yeah, why didn't I think of that? It's because your body, your brain requires 20% of the oxygen of every intake.
Yeah.
And if you're only just taking a teeny little bit of shallow breath. So just check for yourself, is that six-pack doing the sufficient moving? Ideally, both should move, but do make sure that the six-pack is the one that's plopping in and out when you're doing the square belly breath.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Because our minds are so busy, aren't they?
Yes. And actually sometimes I find if I have been in a bit of a tiz-whiz, I might take a couple of those squares before I think, Vanda, click into what you're doing.
Yes.
And grab
Be
those
here
reins.
now. Yeah.
Just think of it as grab the reins. It's me, it's my body, it's my life. I have the reins. And unfortunately what I see is so many people either don't pick the reins up or give them to someone else, and they are your reins, and you are the only one. So all the way through all of this that we will be chatting about this entire hour or so, 2 hours, is about how to get those reins in your hand and have the control over you that you would like to have. That is resilience, that is joy.
And breathing, of course, is deeply spiritual. Yes. So lots of languages like the Greek and the Hebrew talk about spirit and breath using the phrase synonymously.
Yes.
So this is a spiritual, okay, I'm back.
Yes. So many areas. In fact, it really surprises me that we don't teach this in schools because it is so basic. But so many of the different kinds of disciplines that there are out there, or if anyone is into any form of performance, as a singer, as an actor, they are going to have a lot of lessons about breathing and the difference that it can make for them. And yet we don't teach our children. And
the beauty of the word inspiration and inspire.
Yes. Is from breathing in and conspire.
And expire.
Yes, I was just...
It ceased to be. Yes. It's got up the curtain to join the choir eternal. He's an ex-parrot.
It is, isn't it? So, but it's all that. So the whole thing is the breath.
Every breath you take. We'll have to have a bit of the police in there. All that would be good, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
Take me to minute number 2.
Oh, I'd done that. That was the...
Sorry, I mean step number 2.
Step
So
number
start
2.
is 1 and 2, yes.
Yes, step is...
I am listening, listeners.
No, just threw me there for a minute, Lex. Okay, the second part is past. And so the 2 steps are looking at the 24 hours that have just previously gone by. So you can either go 24 hours from now up to now, or now back to 24 hours ago, whichever is easier for you. And in the first of those minutes, and this is probably going to cause a lot of people to raise an eyebrow, because what we're going to do is to look at the times when you said or did something that on reflection you're not so proud or pleased
Right.
about.
Yeah.
And lots of people say, well, why do you want to do that? It's not to go bad me, awful me. It is to look at it and say, what would I have rather done?
Yes.
Because very frequently, those interactions are with people that are close to us.
Yes.
They may happen again. And if you want to build a relationship and have it be better and better, then what you need to do is to look at those. It's the little things. It's the little snarks. It's the little button pushings.
There's 2 beautiful proverbs, actually, and I like Proverbs as a book, because it's like the management education tool of the time. It was how to get on at Solomon's court. Here is the
Right.
gathered wisdom.
Yeah.
And he said it's the little foxes that spoil the vines and the tiny flies that make the perfumer's oil stink.
Ooh.
So these tiny little compromises, and we'll go, actually, I'd rather not do that.
Yes.
You've seen my sons, like 3
Gorgeous.
perfect, gorgeous
Yeah.
sons. And when they were young and going in 3 directions at the same time,
Yep.
often I would snap.
Yep.
And really, as you're snapping, your heart's going, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
There was a much nicer way of saying, can we come back and focus and not leap in front of the traffic, Joshua.
Yes.
Always Joshua, bless you.
Oh.
So yes, I can understand that. Reviewing the 24 hours and going,
But very, very importantly, review once.
Yep,
Pull the lesson.
Yes.
If it happens again,
yes,
what would I have rather done? And it might be that we just take a teeny little step. It might be just that we do first part of the square belly breath.
right,
Breathe in before I answer. It might just be that. But we're starting to look at how we begin to change that direction of that habit. And once we've decided, right, that is what I did, this is what I will do in the future, we then let the past be past.
It's done.
Gone. We don't think about it other than the lesson.
Yep.
We don't rehash it. We don't tell anybody else. We don't go over it again in our minds. The past is past, and we let it go.
And do you recognise any triggers in patterns of behaviour with your nearest and dearest?
Well, that's an interesting, and you and I were having this
Yeah.
conversation, that word trigger is a very good one, because it is those nearest and dearest to us who do know where our little spots are.
Yes. If I poke this one,
Yes.
she does this.
Yes.
And Lady Penelope keeps pinching my bottom 9 years on, and I still scream every single time, except when I see it out of the corner of my eye.
Yes.
She loves to do that in public when we're shopping.
I
She goes,
love it.
little tweak and then, ah!
Might do that on the way back
No,
to the car, ladies
no.
and gentlemen.
No. So it's funny, but she
Yes.
knows exactly the trigger to get the response she wants, which is me
Yes.
screaming out loud, which she finds outrageously funny.
Absolutely so.
And sometimes our motivations are not so much fun as Lady P's there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think sometimes they're not necessarily done with any malice. Like children, it's drama. And when I do this,
In a
Daddy
minute.
does that. And wow, it's
I
cool
have
to watch
power.
him go bright red
Yes.
and huff and puff all over the house. And equally amazingly powerful is when Daddy doesn't.
Yes.
And he breathes in,
Where's my daddy?
and you can see the child's brain whirring and going, oh my gosh, this doesn't work anymore. What am I going to
And then
do?
the little professor goes, let's try this then.
Yes, well, yes. So you deal with that on another day.
I'll learn you.
Children are absolutely brilliant, and what teachers they are, aren't they? As we well know.
Can I have a
bless.
biscuit?
Yes, yes. So the thing is to look at what can I do instead, and then to watch for that happening and put something, if you can, very little in place right away to go in another direction. And what we often do is during that minute, we will count on our non-dominant hand, the one we use less, the number of incidences. And at the end of that minute, we wipe our hand, we blow, we get rid of them because they're finished, they're done. We keep the lessons, thank you very much, and we let them go. Which leads me, unless you have another question.
There was just, we were talking about what some people call future pacing. So if you knew what the trigger was regularly,
yes,
the very thing that caused the habit that you weren't happy with can become the reminder to use the new choices.
Yes, that is brilliant, Lex, and I will grab that and take that because you're looking for how can I catch it as early as possible, and the fact that the person has gone bing is the beautiful way for you to go, oh, shift, here we go, right now, this does it, yes. Which leads us very importantly, and I think those of you who are probably frowning at your at your listening to this at the moment with why does she want to go to the negative, will see when we say the second minute in that second step of past is now to go back through the 24 hours and look for your successes, to look for the little and big things that you know inside of you. You put in that extra effort, you tried hard, regardless of the outcome, but you really gave it your best to be able to do something. Now, I happen to be dyslexic, and if a form comes across my desk that I have to fill in, I breathe deeply and put it over to one side until it becomes a crisis. Now, filling in a form, people would say, Vanda, you're a fairly big girl with a reasonable intelligence. Yes. You're not going to count that as, well done, Vanda, you filled a form in. But I feel it's a success. And so I count that. Now, the other thing I count is if I've snipped a little at my husband, which I didn't mean to do, but I've caught it.
Yes.
And I've then made amends as fast as I possibly could.
Fantastic.
That gets counted on my success hand, along with all the other successes. And Lex, this is so important because so many people feel that they're not successes in any way. And one of the other major problems out there at the moment is people's lack of self-confidence. I don't mean being braggadocious because we are British, but just knowing I am me, and I'm quite proud of me. I can do some good things and maybe some not so good things, but I'm lovable, I'm worthwhile, I'm me. And when you've stopped and looked at all your little successes, and for people for whom this is an issue, when I'm mentoring and working with them, I'll say, get some of those lovely, brightly coloured little notepads. And every success, which you count on your dominant hand, by the way, and keep. But for you, maybe write them on different coloured pieces of paper and pop them in one of those lovely fish bowls. And fill up the fish bowl with your successes so that you've got this reflection back. I must be a good person because look at all the little and big things I've done and that I've achieved. And this is also so important for our children. So parents, if you're listening, please take a moment to reflect accurately and specifically when your child does something good, because we can often catch them not doing the good.
Perfect example yesterday, a beautiful young girl in her lovely summer frock, mum with next baby in the buggy, pushing uphill to the shop, so it was a bit of a struggle as well. And the young girl was giving it some in terms of, and then I did this and then I did that, and full of enthusiasm. And mum said, do you ever stop talking? And yeah, exactly. And I went, oh no, cherish this moment because there is a little sparkly creature who I could catch getting it right, because she wasn't talking about rubbish. What I heard was the joy of discovery. So we've all had that parent, that guardian, that influential person that says that do you have to keep talking or don't boast or shut up in the choir. And mime.
Crushes. I mean, I physically felt that when you said that, and I deflated right in front of you because that's how that girl must have felt. And when you get that enough times, that then becomes a large part of your programming, which of course isn't accurate, isn't truth, and isn't going to be helpful to you in any way whatsoever.
So she needs a fishbowl.
She needs a fishbowl. She does indeed. And next time we see her, we'll go, yay, way to go, you. Even just as you're passing, just to give that reflection back.
I love your chattiness.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Good things to say. The world needs more good things. Go. So you see how those two balance each other out. And you must do the negative one.
So on your non-dominant hand, you're catching...
Yes, the not the negative things,
Yeah.
or the areas for growth, the areas for lessons.
And everything must have a lesson. So you're framing that in the sense of, okay, that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So what's the lesson?
Yes, exactly.
And then you're
Exactly.
catching yourself getting things right.
Yes.
And if you're
successes.
right-handed, right.
Yes.
If you're left-handed, left, right.
Yes, yes.
Left, right, left. March!
Yes.
Through the day, full of joy.
And when you're done, you hold on to those,
Yep.
you squeeze them, you put them in your
Squeeze.
success bank, or you write them up, or you put them in your journal if you're a journalizer person.
Yep.
But you hold on to them and reflect them back at yourself to say, I am a person of worth. I can do these things. It is worth my putting effort in. I do, I make successes, and I'm keeping those.
I think on Facebook you can post stuff only to yourself. There's one of the pull downs, only me. So that might be interesting, mightn't it, to use Facebook as the mirror of your success.
Oh, Lex, that's
or your
lovely.
journal. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You could go out to the world.
Yes, check it, everybody.
Yes, I've just filled out a form. Yay!
Well, everybody who knows me would go, well done, Vanda. My office used to fill it out completely, bless them, oh, I do miss them. And they'd leave a teeny little space where my signature was, and they would put their thumbs on either side, above and below, or the fingers above it, and say, in there, Vanda, because
Yes.
if there were another line, I could find it. And
Right.
so I do have a great deal of appreciation. Thank you, team.
I
You're
was going to
great.
say shout out time
Yeah,
for
shout
hubby.
out to the team.
Hubby?
Oh, and hubby. Hubby doesn't do that. He
No,
says,
by name.
Oh, by
I'm
name.
going to do a shout out.
Shout out by name. Tracy Berry,
Yes.
Jill Dipple, help. Catherine Ridgewell the first.
Did I meet Catherine? I meant hubby's name, darling. Bob.
Ah,
There you go.
yes.
Shout out for Bob in case he's listening to.
Bob. Yes. He'll get several shouts out as we go
He
through, actually.
will. What minute are we up to in our Mind Chi?
We've just finished 4. We're halfway.
4. We're halfway through. So
Yeah.
the first 2 are called Start. The
Yes.
second 2 are called.
Past.
Past.
Because it is the past 24 hours.
So it's acknowledging what we've learned from the successes and the things we would rather have changed. Well, I think it's time for a bit of